start with prayer. Beloved, well, bright ancestors of everyone here, all of those who shine your light, who surround us with your prayers, both in life and now, all of those who come with blessings to bestow and support to offer. We welcome you. We're grateful to be in connection with you. And we're inviting you into this space that is on these sacred grounds wherever we all are. We acknowledge the land, we acknowledge the waters, and we acknowledge that the bodies of our ancestors are this land. And so we welcome you. We welcome you to be near us. We welcome you to surround us with protection. Surround us with protection that keeps us safe from all of the unseen things that are not in our highest interest, and surround us with your love and your blessing of all of the things that are in service of our highest good. We welcome in your protection. We welcome in it like a blanket, like a layer of the most golden, beautiful, radiant light. We welcome connection with you. We welcome to be in relationship with you. We are your beloved descendants, and we're so grateful for your lives, for your work, for your labor, for your love. We're so grateful to you, and we're looking forward to connecting with you tonight. So please, sweet, powerful, dear, well, bright, elevated ancestors, please turn your attention this way so that we can be in a relational field with you tonight, and make this really good for everyone here. Make it really nourishing. Make it the highlight of their day so that when they leave this ritual, they feel more like themselves, more like who they are at their core and at their essence. So please, ancestors, help support that. Blessed be. So welcome everyone. Super happy to be with you. I know some of you and some of you I don't, and I'm Pavani Moray, and it's just really fun to get to do this with you, and grateful for your time and your attention. So let me just locate myself a little bit, and then I'm going to give you kind of the overview of the evening. So I am a white somatics practitioner of European descent. I come from the British Isles. My people are mostly Scottish. I'm queer, I'm trans, I'm living on Cherokee land in what's known as North Carolina. I work with somatics and ancestors and trauma and healing, and mostly with relationships. And I'm the author of 2 books. One is called How to Hold Power, How to Become a Leader, a somatic approach to becoming a leader people love and respect. And my new book is called Tending the Bones, and it's the work of my heart and of my life of like, how do we heal transgenerational sexual trauma? So that's what we're going to be delving into tonight. I'm also an ancestral lineage practitioner. I'm trained in the reclaiming tradition of witchcraft. So that's me. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to do a little bit of ritual that is designed to resource you. And so everything we're going to be focusing on is positive and nourishing and well, and really designed to be a support for your good life. And, I believe that ritual safety is really important. It's crucial. So we're going to be focusing on that. We did a little bit of that in the prayer. We're going to do some more of that. Not all of the dead are equally well, right? Just like not all of the living are equally well. And by well, I mean like loving, good-hearted, best intentioned, compassionate. And I also believe that the dead can change, right? And so for those reasons, ritual safety, the dead not all being equally well, we only, in at least how I work, we only relate with the ancestors who are in service to our best lives, our brightest lives. And it doesn't mean that they're not like fussy sometimes and bossy, and they're human souls, they're human spirits, and sometimes they can be persnickety, but like they're really safe, right? Those are the ancestors that we work with, the ones who just have our best interest at heart and who are never going to be trickstery or do anything that wouldn't be good for us, right? So that's the real seed of the intention tonight and just in general. You do not need to have a relationship with your ancestors to participate. If you don't, that's totally fine. Just being open to the idea that we can continue to relate with the dead after they pass is enough, and you must all feel that because you're all here. So we're gonna do ritual for 15-20 minutes. I'll guide us through a thing, and we'll kind of come out of that. We'll have a moment to land, kind of come back to more ordinary reality. And you can take notes if there's anything that you want to make note of. And then I'll tell you a little bit about tending the bones, which is the ritual container that I'm holding, super low pressure. I'm just gonna, tell you kind of the gist of it. And then we're gonna turn towards your questions and we'll spend the rest of the time answering your questions, both about like what I'm up to in this ritual container and also like anything you want to know that I will make my best effort to answer. Anything you want to know about ritual, about ancestors, about transgenerational trauma and how to heal it, I'm here for it. So that's what we're up to tonight. So does that sound good to everybody? Yeah. Okay. Great. And during the ritual part, like you don't need to be on camera. You can absolutely turn your cameras off so you have the privacy of that. And I'll let you know when it's time to come back, and I'll stay on camera. Great.
Trying to get off camera and I can't figure it out for some reason.
It's okay. No worries. You can also stay on camera, Kendra. It's okay. Ah, you got it. So I'm just inviting you to come into your body. That's the when we're doing ritual, it's the safest place you can be is inhabiting the fullness of your skin. So however you do, whether it's through breathing or a body scan or placement of attention or moving and getting more comfortable or doing self holds, however it is that you come into connection with your body to whatever extent feels right now that you have access to. And just imagining your skin as your first layer of protection, right? It's the thing that holds you together, that protects you from the outer world. Then, when you have a sense of your skin as a layer of protection, we're going to invite in some more layers. So, the invitation is to think of something, a place, a tree, a stone, a river, a person, someone alive, not someone dead, a pet, something that you deeply trust. And just imagining that being, their protection, flowing around you. And just noticing that that can be really three-dimensional, right? That your back is protected above your head, below your feet. And when you feel like you've got that going on, we're going to call in another layer of protection. And this is your relationship with whatever you consider your higher power, your source, the earth. If you relate with a particular deity, a god or a goddess, if you have a particular spiritual tradition that feels alive for you, that you feel that you trust, maybe it's the sky, whatever, when you think about how I connect with spirit, and just again, imagining that layer. And then the final thing you're going to do here is just imagine a ring of fire all the way around the outside of that. Cool, doesn't have to be super hot, but just a ring of fire that is fiercely protective, keeping away anything that is not in service to your highest good, keeping you really protected. And once you've got all that going on, those layers of protection, right? Your body, your relationship with some being in this world, your relationship with the divine, and then this ring of fire. Like, what I want you to notice is just like, wow, how's it feel to be in the world with protection? And maybe this is a regular practice, but probably for some of you it's not. Like, just see what happens. Like, does your breath come a little bit easier? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. There's nothing that should happen here. It's just exploring what it's like to really take seriously your own well-being. And from inside of this beautiful suit of protection that you've crafted, I want you to drop an intention, which is, I will only allow in what is in service to my highest good. I will only allow in what is in service to my highest good. And everything else can be anywhere else except in here with me. Wonderful. So we're going to address your four primary bloodlines. And let me just say that if you don't have any relationship with the people in these bloodlines, it is almost actually almost easier. Like, you don't have to have a relationship, you don't have to have a good relationship, you don't have to know anything about it. If you're adopted, that's okay. If you don't know who your parents are, that's okay. Like, it doesn't, those details, while they may be important in other realms, in this ritual realm, don't matter that much. Because what's true is that this all lives in you. It's the connection is you. You are the living embodiment of lots of information, lots of threads of information, lots of strands of DNA, all this stuff in your blood. And so what we're going to do is turn towards those four bloodlines one at a time. And what you will do as you turn towards that line is that you, in your imagination, or if you want, you can actually do this in the physical space, is you will turn to a direction. It could be your left, it could be your right, it could be in front, and it could be behind. What feels right to you intuitively is what to follow. And you don't have to remember any of this. I'm going to walk you through it each time, okay? You'll turn towards a direction, a different one for each lineage. And then you will ask the powers that be, your well, bright, elevated ancestors of to show you the blessings of this lineage, just the blessings. Yes, there's lots of burdens, we know that, but they're just going to be showing you the good stuff tonight. Okay, and then you get to decide when you see that how close you want to let that in. Okay, and then we'll spend I don't know, just a couple minutes with each of the lineages. I'll drum for each one, and then I'll ding the meditation bowl in between, and then I'll direct you to the next one. And we're gonna do it starting with your mother's people. So go ahead and just notice those layers of protection that you've got. And in your mind's eye or in your imagination, you're not going anywhere. You're not trying to make a thing happen. You're just open. Like imagine a movie screen. You're just open. What are the blessings of this line of your mothers? Just imagining that you can open that door and see what there is. Does this line of grandmothers offer you? It may be something you hear, it may be something you feel. It can come in any sensorial form. And whatever you are noticing, seeing, feeling, hearing, smelling, just notice how much of this you want to allow in, how much of this goodness. It's okay to take as much or as little as you like. And whatever you're feeling is perfectly right. And if it feels right to extend gratitude here to your mother's lineage, that's great. And here, just returning to your layers of protection. So come back to just you. Calling to mind that being that you invited to be with you, that first exterior layer of protection, calling in mind whatever that higher power is, and that ring of fire, and really making sure that your space is sovereign here, that it feels clean, it feels clear. If it doesn't, you can just imagine like a powerful breeze just blowing through your space, clearing out anything not in service to your highest good so that only what is most helpful remains. And we'll turn next to your mother's father's fathers. And so you're going to, either in your mind or actually with your body, turn to the direction where you feel that lineage coming towards you. You are at the center. Where does that lineage live directionally? And again, opening to the blessings of your mother's father's fathers. What is the goodness that this line has to offer you? Again, you get to be in choice about it. What are the skills, the talents, the gifts that come to you through this line of grandfathers? Again, opening to images, sounds, feelings, colors, words. What are the gifts of this line of your mother's father's father's people? And just noticing, do you want to invite that in as a resource right now? What is it to let as much or as little or none or all of that goodness into your system? Offering gratitude if it feels right, and closing out with your mother's father's father's people. And coming back to just you, those layers of protection, your body, the being you invoked to be with you, whatever higher power or deity, natural you work with, and that ring of fire. And again, checking, is my space clean and clear? Do I still feel safe and protected? And if you don't, clear your space. You can use the wind. You can imagine spraying it out with water, however you want to clear out your space. If it's not clear, go ahead and do that. But hopefully you should be doing okay with this. And again, we're just connecting with what is in service to our highest good and receiving only that which feels right to receive right now. So when you're ready, you'll turn your attention next to your father's mothers. And so what direction in your body do you want to associate with that lineage? Your father's mothers. And when you're ready, again, just opening your attentional fields, however it is you do that. Maybe you see it on a movie screen, maybe you look through a window. What are the blessings of this line of grandmothers? Your father's mother's people. Maybe you know about them, maybe you don't. It's okay. They're in you, and their gifts are in you. So let's see what they are. Stay with it, letting it unfold how it does. Whatever's available now to be known, but the gifts of this lineage, your father's mother's mothers, and just noticing what feels right to bring in as resource, what feels rightly prideful, good, natural. And again, you control how much you bring in. Offering gratitude to this lineage of grandmothers if it feels right. Closing out with them. Checking your layers of protection. Clearing your space. And here just noticing how you're feeling, how you're doing. We'll turn next to the last lineage for this evening, which is your father's father's fathers and that line of grandfathers. And again, it doesn't matter what you know of them, who you think they are. There is goodness in this line, and you get to see what it is because it's yours by birthright. So associating them with the final direction, you can turn your body that way or just in your imagination. And opening your awareness to your own blood, to the gifts of this lineage, to knowing what they are, to trusting that they're there. What goodness flows to you from your father's 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 people. deciding here what you would like to allow in as a source of nourishment and resource. Offering gratitude to this lineage of grandfathers and closing out with them. Tending your spiritual house now, making sure that it is clean and clear, whooshing the wind or some smoke or some fire or water through it, coming back to just you. You have gathered blessings, you have gathered knowing. Ritually, I invite you now to take what you have taken in and integrate it. Let it update you. And just taking a few minutes to make any notes or to re enter a different kind of reality where we're all together on a screen. Take your time though. As you're ready, you can come back on camera. Of course, you don't have to if you don't want to. But I'd love to, hey Rose, nice to see you. I would love to hear from a couple people about any noticings, any, anything that feels potent to share as part of the blessing. And you can just unmute yourself.
I was willing to share. I was late, so I missed the first two lineages, I think. I came in at my father's mother's mother. And that's the side of family that has the least, that have the least information about, or the least, like, we don't, they're just, it was very disconnected. So it was very clear, like a lot of visuals around like lush, dark jungle vines, like green. And it was all about plants. So I'm a visual thinker, so I started a Pinterest board that's just like what I was seeing, because that helps me anchor. And then the father's father, was like ruby red fire. It's interesting because I've been looking at wanting more ruby red jewelry, or not expensive, but like that sort of red jewel. That's, I love costume jewelry. It's actually my preferable to me over the uglier the better. But I've been looking at it, and I didn't realize because I tend not to dig into that line because there is some darkness between me and the well ancestors on that lineage in particular. But I saw, like, I heard music and Mexico and ruby red things, so I'm excited to create some visuals around that.
Beautiful. Yeah, I really like it when there's a color associated with a lineage because it just makes it easy to know what's what and who you're dealing with when you're like when somebody suddenly shows up and you're like, "Oh, ruby red, cool, I know what I'm dealing with." It's just really helpful. Thanks, Desiree. Yeah, anybody else want to share?
I'll just share that there were some parts that were confusing because we just wanted to see the blessings, and sometimes some of the things I saw, I couldn't really identify them as blessings. They felt a little, made me a little nervous. Um, so um, in my mother's lineage, there was like some sort of like copper or bark chips that didn't seem really. It seemed, I don't know, like some sort of they were almost like coins, but somehow they didn't seem exactly like blessings to me. But I mean, that's what we were letting in. So I guess maybe that's something just to figure out. And then on my uh, mother's father's side, there was like a mischievous like deer nibbling that also, when you were saying not to let, or that we could decide what to let in, that I let in the green trees there instead. So
Yeah, beautiful. And I would just say kind of like the like that could be, whole session with your ancestors of like, oh, tell me more about these red copper chips, right? Like I want to know more before I receive that. I want to understand it more. I want to understand why it's important, what it means, what it's about, and just see, if they'd be willing to share a little bit more, right? Because I feel like sometimes the information across the veil isn't always the clearest, right? Like they're like, but the copper chips are really important. You're like, yeah, great, but like I need more. I need more. I need more information to like feel comfortable. And again, like those relationships, as you build them over time and they become more trusting, you're like, okay, well, I know that you're here for my highest good, and I've had all these trusting experience. You've built relationship over time, and so it's like easier to accept something that's like, well, I don't know what this means. So, it just gets easier to accept it. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, folks. Yeah, and I just want to also like say maybe some of you had nothing happen and like that's okay too. Of like sometimes it's hard to get out of our own heads and especially when we're like shifting quickly into a ritual space. And B, I would just trust that it's still working, that like we don't have to feel a thing or like experience a big like wah aha thing for ritual to be effective. And so to just like trust that like what needed to happen happened, whether or not you got like really clear information, it's still like a beautiful thing to say, hey, I'm going to check in and see what the blessings of these lineages are. So thank you. Thanks for trusting me too to lead this part. I know it's can be a lot. And so just like thank you. So unless there's anything else that's burning, I'm gonna shift gears, but I'm gonna give a minute to see anybody else burning something.
I will. Thanks, Bhavini, and that's hello to everyone. First time in this group. What I really appreciated energetically was the invite to call in blessings. I feel like energetically and expansively right now, like in our collective, it's nice to have that. And I really felt the expansiveness of not just being here on my own, but being here in community with others who are also calling that in. So I super, super appreciated that. And it felt very like, wow, things feel so yuck in the collective. And this felt very empowering. Like, yeah, let's go and spend time opening up to blessings. And I really appreciated it and appreciated that there's such a huge, big group here too. So that was really special. Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you, Tanya Mark. I know a lot about you through Nick, so um, I'm assuming you're the same Tanya Mark, yeah?
Same one.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, it's great
Thanks.
to meet you.
Right on. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you. It's great to
awesome.
meet you too.
Yeah, and for folks who don't know, Tanya Mark and Nick have a podcast called Queer Spirit, which is wonderful. Um, all right, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this, my book, and the origin story of this work, and and then I'll talk about the ritual container. But so basically, maybe you know this, but I have been a somatic sex therapist in private practice for many years. And like in maybe like 2015, 2014 or 2015, I started to notice this thing was happening where people were coming into my office and they were like talking about trauma that they were experiencing, sexual trauma that they were experiencing, but that they hadn't actually experienced. Like they were talking about their mothers, their grandmothers, their sisters, their aunties, right? And I was like, what? I have no idea what to do with this. I have no idea how to, like, I can help you with yours, but like, I don't know what to do with your grandma's sexual trauma. But it was impacting their sexuality. They could feel it in their bodies. And as a survivor of lineage-based sexual trauma, I was very interested in it personally as well, right? So I had just started like my like I was in graduate school, and I knew I wanted to do something with somatics and queerness and but anyway, this question just wouldn't leave me alone. Like, how do I treat this? What do I do about it? Which led to my doctoral dissertation being about this topic. And I talked to a zillion people about who had relationships with their ancestors across all different kinds of traditions. They had relationships with their ancestors, and they claimed that those relationships had supported healing their sexual trauma. And sometimes the trauma was lineage based. And so that was pretty interesting, right? And so out of those conversations came a whole set of like practices. This thing about protection came out of my research. I mean, I was also studying with Dr. Daniel Four and learning his ancestral lineage healing, but my research predated that. Like that was kind of like as part of it. I started to do that, and people were like really like serious about protection, like and all kinds of other practices too, like singing and making offerings and dancing and photographs and like sacred sexuality offerings. Like people had a lot to say about this topic, and so much to say that that's how I started Bespoken Bones, the podcast that I had for a few years, was just like to continue talking to people about it because it was like a really rich topic. So wrote the dissertation, and then taught the course based on what I learned, and then from that wrote the book, and I'm now teaching the course again. So that's kind of the origin story of like and I think what's interesting is that there's a lot in the field right now about transgenerational trauma. People are like getting it, that it travels, right? Things that are unresolved travel down generations, as do blessings, right? Burdens and blessings both travel down generations. And so transgenerational sexual trauma, however, like it was really hard to find anything about it. Like there's just like transgenerational trauma in general is kind of like new, right? In the last 10 years, I would say people are having more and more awareness of it. And transgenerational sexual trauma is like, it's super like margins, but like people who have it are like, oh my gosh, like, they resonate really deeply with it. So that's all to say that there is this ritual container that I've created and that I will be holding, and that it is a very methodic walk through how to address this. And it's 13 months long, and it starts with 4 months of just resource building, like stuff that you probably know, that's like pretty foundational, but like also like it's really worth a deeper dive. Like, yeah, I know how to ground, but like what is it to have a grounding, daily grounding practice, and to say, okay, I'm, especially right now, right? If like I'm really gonna make sure that I'm focusing on a resource before I dive into trauma, right? Like we just want to like get in there and get it over with, but it's like it's actually not very effective, and I think it can actually be harmful if we just dive into trauma without having this like foundation. Like that's why we did those layers of protection, right? So like foundational practices of embodiment, wellness, groundedness, protection, all the boundaries. Like there's a lot in those first 4 months, and then the next 3 months of it are about looking at what happened, but looking at it through a justice lens of like how do we acknowledge the impact of what happened? How do we name it? How do we acknowledge it? And how do we not become just swamped in it? And how do we then like focus on what is going to be justice for us on our own terms? How do we create that for ourselves? What does that look like? What does that mean? And so those 3 months are kind of like the heavy middle, the sandwich meat in the middle of like, all right, this is what we're going to do about this thing. And then the last part, the last 5 months is about pleasure and embodiment, and like how do I weave in the ancestral sexual blessings that I am privy to, right? How do I find like who am I without these layers of other ick on me? How do I find my somatic center and what I want pleasure to be? And so it's like there's a lot of like self-definition, and so that's kind of the course of it. And then it ends with a really fun thing of like making a pleasure bundle for your descendants, right? Of like what would it be to receive from your ancestors, like permission and like sex positivity and like yes, support and information, right? So that there's like this, the trajectory is like ending on this like this is not just for me, it's for the sake of my entire lineage coming after me, whether or not I have children, right? And when I think about descendants, I think about like descendants of blood, but also of heart. And people have descendants in lots and lots and lots of different ways. So that the focus is not on, heterosexual reproduction or anything like that. So the course, the ritual container is that, and then we have so there's like it's all recorded. There's workbooks, there's rituals, there's I wove in podcast episodes that were relevant, poetry, art, like each month of the 13 months is really full practices. And then a recorder, we're having a ritual meeting and Q&A, kind of like this, where you get live support, you get to interact with your cohort. So that's the live component of it. And then there's also like, you can ask questions in the forums and stuff like that. So that's the ritual container. I just put it up, and right now until so I'm going to give you a discount code for coming, and it's valid until the 30th. So you have a couple days to think about it. So let me just put that in the chat actually, and then I'll send it out to you also. And we have payment plans. Yeah. And I'll also send out the recording tomorrow, so you'll get all that. I think that's all I want to say about that. And I just want to use the last part of our time together, and like I can stay, until we're kind of out, and you don't need to. You can drop off whenever you're ready. But I want to hear your questions. I want to really give you the full benefit of my time and attention and knowledge of like, what do you want to know about healing transgenerational sexual trauma, healing transgenerational trauma in general, ritual ancestors, what's alive, what's coming up for you? And you can just like again unmute yourself, and we'll just talk.
Hi, Pavani.
Hi,
You.
nice to see you too.
I'm very, very drawn to this work, and I've had lots of insight and experience of having transgenerational sexual trauma, lots of it. But now what I'm interested in is that I am 62, so my sexuality is really, really different than it was even 5 years ago. Super different. And I'm curious about exploring that through that lens. Do you know what I'm saying? How I'm like in this crone stage of sexuality, but
Yeah.
how do I explore that piece of it when I'm still interested like sexually, but I'm also, it's like it's so different now, and desire is totally different now. So that's the piece that I'm like, is it worth it to bother? You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel about it. So I'm very, very drawn to it because I think it's an important piece of healing on lots of different levels. But I don't know if you have any comment about
Yeah.
that.
Well, I guess I want to kind of meet your question with the question, how would you know if it was worth the bother?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I think I would know it was worth it if it felt like things that are related, but not exactly my sexuality, like body image and relating to other people um on that level from my, not from from where I am today and not from the past.
Yeah.
So that's what would be the gauge. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I think that's great. My mind went immediately. I don't know if I can find it, how quickly I could find it. Um, it went immediately to something in the book where we're looking, and it's also in the ritual container, where we're looking at the inner outer other triangle of sexuality, which is like current. It's like in this moment, what is my inner experience of my sexuality? How do I experience desire? How do I experience libido? How do I experience arousal, right? What does it feel like? What turns me on right now? So there's that inner, and then there's the outer layer of like, how do I express it? How do I what do I do? Do I hook up with people? Do I wear awesome slutty clothes? Am I going to sex parties, or am I masturbating with my vibrator? How am I expressing my sexuality? And then the third rung of that triangle is other. Like, how am I in relationship with others about my sexuality? How are others in relationship with me about my sexuality? Like, and this is where questions of like desirability and social capital, and like we're exploring those things. And I think that's like super, at least for me as I'm aging, that's like a super interesting.
Yeah, because now I am invisible. So
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And so like, how do I navigate that? And what do I see? What do I notice? What do I want? How do I name? So I think like I always think that kind of work is helpful, and I think it's really helpful to take off the lens of like, it's supposed to be this way, like it used to be. I'm supposed to feel this way about it. It's like, how am I now? How am I now with it? Is that helpful, Rose?
yeah, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, what else?
I have a question that might be a little bit off topic, but I would love to ask anyway.
Please.
My brother killed himself when he was 55,
Oh
and
gosh.
I think it's really tough being a gay man in backwoods of Indiana. But
Yeah.
I I'm going to a spiritualist church now, and I got a message from him to that I should take a hot air balloon ride. And I know about myself, I'm a gearhead, I'm very literal. So I'm thinking I should go get in a fucking hot air balloon. And I remember he would always talk me into doing shit I didn't really want to do when he's like 10 years older than me. And he was such a central part of my life, um, inspired me to do so many cool things. And so I'm like, well, I just don't know if I should trust it. Like, because I don't know if this is just an American thing to be like negative about suicide, or if like, is that just a cultural bias, or like is he still like I don't know. Do you have any insight into any of that? Or I mean, the possibility is he just means metaphorically take a 30 to 30 whatever it is. I don't know how high they get, half a mile up view. Or would you have any thoughts about the suicide and like
Yeah.
trusting somebody who killed themselves to give me guidance?
Did you trust him when he was alive to give you
I
guidance?
did. He struggled with mental health
Yeah.
issues, but he took me horseback riding for days in these woods, and he inspired me to go sailing, and he was a phenomenal brother. He just had a hard time
Yeah.
showing up on a daily basis.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to trust your gut on it. My heart is like, oh, that's really beautiful, you know? It's really beautiful that he in life inspired you to push your edges and in death is still showing up in that same way, you know? And it doesn't sound like if he was like, you know, giving you something that like felt, I mean, this is where you have to trust your own gut. If like, does this sound like the right thing or the wrong thing for me, you know? Right? Of like, how do I feel about going up in a hot air balloon? Does that feel like too much for me, or does that feel like it would be an honoring of my brother? Does it feel like it would be fun? Does it feel like it would expand me, or does it feel like it would be terrifying? You know, you have to be the judge of that.
Mm.
But I don't get like a, how do you feel? Like, does it give you an uh-oh feeling, or does it feel like sweet?
Well, I mean, I like to do things I've never done, and I'm a little I I've heard it's really loud, and I really don't care for loud. But I don't know if that's even true. So I could check on that, or I could take a freaking noise canceling headset, and I think when they fire up those things, it's like, and
Well, I
that
will
was
tell you, I went in a hot air balloon 2 years ago, and it was like on my bucket list, and it was like the most
cool.
terrifying thing I'd done. I wrote a blog post about it. You can read about it on my Substack. Um, and it was, it wasn't that loud. There were moments where it's like completely quiet, just wear some earbuds, I would
Oh,
say. Like that's not too bad. Yeah.
oh, thank you, thank
Yeah.
you. I
Yeah.
think I'm gonna look for one.
Thanks for the question. And I'll just like speak a little bit to it. The like I don't presume to know what happens after we die. I don't know, right? And something happens, right? And if we're animists and we're practicing ancestral reverence, right? We're imagining or we're believing that we are relating with those who have gone before, right? And, sometimes people get like, they might be like super loving and kind and sweet, and they get ragged either in this world or in the next one, and their spirits aren't necessarily like radiant, or I don't know how to explain how I perceive it, but like there's not this like radiance or this like holism, this holisticness. And it doesn't mean that like they're dangerous, right? They're just like ragged, they just got a little beat up, and so like doing ancestral ritual with ancestors who came before, like who are really really bright and well in spirit, can help those, like maybe your brothers in this camp, I don't know, but like can help patch up the ones who either got stuck or a little bit ragged, and help them to transition to be with the well ancestors, and that becomes the place where we can like really deepen in our trust. Like once we know that like somebody's really well in spirit, like they're good. That's been my experience at least. So and I think suicide is, it's I don't need to go there, but like I think that that's one of the we all die somehow, right? And it's one way we die, and like it's a particular way. So I hope that's helpful. Yeah, who else has a
Yes,
question?
yes.
Oh, let's see who, there's some hands up. Let me see. This is Dandy and Joey.
I am Dandy.
Hi, Dandy.
That last share provoked a question for me because I also have a brother who's queer and we're both from the South and we both grew up queer. And so I guess my question is about kind of a little bit about the program that you have put together, and like also like the relationship to intergenerational queer sexual trauma, and like how as a community um there's still so much trauma with HIV AIDS, and there's so much trauma learning from my elders. There's disconnection from the elders, and a lot of loss and a lot of trauma within community.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I guess that last share really, I was like, oh, I do have a question. Actually, because I think it's very potent to remember the mental health of our community members and what we go through intergenerationally, but also horizontally within our loved ones and communities. So I'd love to hear anything about that.
Yeah. Is it okay to share a little bit more of the origin story? I think it addresses it.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I was at a sex camp in 2015, and the organizers said there will be no sexual violence or sexual assault here at this camp. They just like said it, and I was like, whoa, how can you just say that, you know? And so I talked with them about it, and they said that, you know, the kind of in the background what they were doing was working with the queer ancestors. And ironically, I was going the following week to a different camp where I was going to be holding something called a bower, which is a sacred sexuality space. And it was at Wolf Creek Radical Fairy Sanctuary. Some of you may have heard of it. It's a queer space where a lot of gay men's ashes were interred during AIDS and spread on that land. And it's a pretty wild, like spiritually wild space. Like not a very just kind of like it's a place. And so I was going to be holding this space, and I was thinking about it of like how could I hold this community space for healing sexuality, working with the AIDS dead, right, who were spread on this land. And so that's what we did. And I that was kind of the beginning of the formulation of my dissertation question of like how can we work with the ancestors to heal transgenerational sexual trauma, was working in that space. And what happened is we did a lot of ritual, and there was a point where we had somebody who was in aspect, which means they're in a kind of a dropped in ritual space, and they're veiled, and they're just open to receiving like information that's coming from the ritual. And then like later they talk to whoever wants to hear, like me, about it. Like what did they perceive? What did they notice? And the person who was in aspect had the experience of tens of thousands of queer men, some who had committed sexual harm and wanted to make it right, some who hadn't and just wanted to be supportive and wanted to like aid queer healing in community, just showing up like, and it showed up as like numbers, like just like numbers of all of these queer men showing up to help hold this ritual container, to make atonement, to be able, you know, to whatever they're doing for their own soul's purposes. But like that was actually, and and that continued to be a thread of my research of asking queer people, like, okay, what about queer ancestors, right? We're not just talking about ancestors of blood, but what about queer ancestors? How can they help us heal? How can our transcestors help us heal? And how do we heal the queer wound in community, right? And so the work actually came out of that, and I talk about it in both the ritual container and the book, of people talking about that, of like what they like. For example, one person talked about how people have lots of different ancestral altar practices, and some people feel like it's really great to have it in your bedroom. Some people feel like that's not cool at all. This person who I was interviewing had his ancestor altar in his bedroom, and he had images of like Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera and like all of these like queer trans, like I can't remember all who he had, but he had this whole, diaspora of people who have been like queer community leaders. And before he would have hookups, he would pray to them, right? He would pray to these queer ancestors. And I thought that was lovely. The story's in the writing, but so yeah, just to your point, I think it's necessary work, and it's also work that is best served in community, right? Like I can work on my sexuality all day long, but like it's when I'm in relationship with another or others that like my stuff is really going to come up, and I'm going to have the opportunity to work on it. And I think that the lateral violence sometimes that we perpetrate on each other, like the slut shaming, for example, or it comes up in lots of different ways, but the kind of the risk, the kind of the I'll paraphrase it like this. Someone I was in a sex space once said, I invoke the freedom from having to feel a certain way in a sex positive space, right? Like kind of that assumption of like, you probably know what I'm talking about. Like, like, oh, you're supposed to be sexy, or you're supposed to feel this way, or you're supposed to want to have sex, you know, the freedom for all of that. And that was another example of like healing coming in a community ritual and community space. So I don't know, I feel like I'm talking all over the place, but hopefully it's helpful and you're getting what you need out of it. What do you think, Dandy? How's that all land?
No, that's awesome. I've been in that field at Wolf Creek, and I
Oh,
have
okay, so you
also
know.
prayed at that ancestor altar, and I have worked in that space, and uh, also Short Mountain. So I appreciate. So yeah, I just appreciate you bringing that in, and also the kind of like horizontal, like we're all here on this plane together, but there is still so much pain, and like just even this week interacting with these gay elders, there's so much sharpness in the survivorhood, there's so
Yes.
much
Yeah.
tension in survivorhood, and um showing up through sexuality and community can feel very hard in these times. So yeah, I'm curious, and yeah, thanks for answering my question.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see. Probably have like time for one more question.
Yeah, this relates to what you just ended with. Um, because Pavani, you and I have been talking about scheduling one-on-one sessions together this fall, and I don't know, I got your email from your Substack about this happening tonight, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not doing anything else. I guess I'll do it. And I'm just like listening to everyone else, I'm remembering that the most benefit that I ever got from any sort of therapy was group therapy for sexual assault survivors. And I'm wondering now, like, if maybe this would be even more beneficial than a one-on-one sessions. And how would they compare?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel pretty strongly that like the kind of healing that you're talking about is most excellent in community. That said, okay, so here's, I'm going to just like set up what I say. So working one-on-one with me is really tailored, is really specific. The one of the skill sets that I come with is being able to make up stuff on the spot that's addressing the pain point. right? So like being able to take whatever is like, oh, we're circling around this thing, and like, all right, I can shape a practice around that thing that'll really specific to you. And so that there's like a specificity, right? There's a relationality with me that happens in one-on-one work where the like whatever trust stuff is coming up for my client, like I get to be the person who they heal that with, right? Because like my, as you know, my focus is on protection, boundaries, consent, like super serious about it. And so there is a way that trust can be repaired in a one-on-one relational field in one-on-one work. The container is, it's not set up as like group therapy, right? So we're meeting, like you're working through the content on your own, and we're meeting once a quarter as a community to come and share ritual space and share space like this, right? Like what's happening for you? How are you doing? There might be some like spot coaching. We'll see, like whatever, you know, I feel available for what happens. There's going to be more relationality with others in that, but it's gonna feel like this. So I think, Brooke, you know, I would just drop into your belly with it and see like what feels right. And you know, maybe it's both, maybe it's neither. I don't know, but like I trust your own knowing, and I hope that the like, having a little bit more information gives you more to go on. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I haven't read the description of this course at
Oh,
all. So
great! You have homework.
yeah.
Great, folks. Well, let's end with a prayer. Yeah. Well ones, bright ones, ancestors of blood, of heart, of all who are gathered here. So grateful for your attention, grateful for your protection, grateful for your tending, grateful for your sharing of the blessings, grateful for your respect, your kindness, your compassion, and your love. Really, it just makes us so much more to be in relationship with you, to hold that life is moving through us as a lineage, that life moves not as an individual life, but as a lineage. It moves, and we are grateful to be part of that with you, to be in that dance. To the well ones and bright ones, we're so grateful for your continual tending. We ask for more of it. We ask to be ever held in your love and your compassion, and so offer our prayers for your wellness, for your well-being, for the continued healing of these lineages that we embody in us, and grateful, just so grateful for the goodness that is accessible through opening our hearts to you. And so please stay with us, and thank you. Blessed be. All right, folks. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. I will follow up with you tomorrow. I'll send you the recording. So if you didn't get to do the first two, you know, go ahead and do them, so you can get all those blessings. And you can also see the part about protection. And I'll also send you the coupon code, which I put in the chat, so that you have it. So it's valid for 2 more days, and it's $200 off the year-long container. So with that, sending you all much love, and I send you on your merry way.